So this will be just another quick one. I got some time to kill before my clock will let me go here. So with like psyops and brainwashing and all this types of stuff, it doesn't necessarily have to be like an overt, sinister thing that happens of people intentionally doing it. It's just culture, people going by, like it says in the scriptures, they're found just doing what their fathers have done and following what their fathers have followed and this and that, so it's kind of like who's your guru. It can be a religious person, scholar, something you follow, you put a lot of trust in and stuff, and he can be totally wrong. He can make a lot of sense, but he can be totally wrong about a lot of things. It was one of the things, like I said, I prayed, I asked God, who are you? But I also was like, what's going on? What went wrong? Jesus spoke about brotherhood, and mercy and all these things, and why all these wars? Why the racism? Why slavery? Why all this stuff? If, what happened? And stuff. And then, once I started to read the Quran, it explains that stuff about what men do and mankind has done to religion and each other. And so you think, okay, I got the Quran, I'm on the right track. And then, I find out, because I was like, why is it God starts something that's really good and then it goes kaplooey? Or seems to, anyway. And then I started, reading the Quran, and it's like, this is great, this is amazing to me. How can people deny this is a book from God? Preachers and stuff. And you got to deal with all that. All that'll be in your head. That's why I said it earlier in one of the other videos, moving forward in faith to faith is not easy at times, because you got a lot of stuff. You got a lot of baggage you're carting with you. You have all these teachings you've been taught your whole life, and you're carting them with you. And they can weigh you down and make you doubt and make you think of things in the wrong way. And that's culturally too. And, you got people bring you up in the KKK telling you, this or that, or Nazism, and they're the master race, or you got extremists in Judaism who teach that. You got the black Israelites and Farrakhan teaching, black supremacy and all this stuff. People can get caught up in that. Japanese culture got caught up in that. And Shinto was perverted and changed. So like then I'm reading the Quran, and I got the book that tells the truth, and then you start to find out about the split between Shia and Sunni, and it's like, man, not again. What do you mean there's differences? What do you mean? And then you find out the Prophet's family was murdered and stuff, and it's like, what? But then you see that, and like I went to Shia Islam, found 12er Shia Islam to be true. I believe that the Prophet designated his successors, and that they taught right, and that there would be one who would come one day, Imam Mahdi, and a lot of Muslims still waiting for him. I believe he came already in the person of the Bab, and forgive me, I forget his actual name. But he's the Imam, and then he told of the one who would come after him. And then I believe Baha'u'llah said 1,000 years from his time there will be another messenger sent. So like I was saying, it's who's your guru? Is it his political leader? Is it some religious scholar? Is it some cultural thing you have in your head from just general beliefs and dogmas that are all mixed together, about people, about countries, about ideologies? Like I said, the only really thing you can depend on is what comes from God and from the people he authorized to bring it to you and to teach it to you. And to look at the things they said and verify that it's what they said and it hasn't been watered down yet and this and that, and go from there. I believe the basic principles are not the things that ever truly get worn down. Maybe some here or there, but you know, because like, do not steal, every religion is still do not steal, do not commit murder, don't commit adultery, don't, all those types of things, you know, the meat and potatoes types of things, don't, but other things in translation and stuff and meanings of parables and things like this, I think get lost on people. So I want to throw that out there about psyops and you know, who's your guru and you know, what ideology are you following? Have you stepped back and looked at what you believe in life? Have you looked at yourself? Have you stepped back away from it? I know it's hard to do. It is very hard to do, especially you're out there trying to survive. Have you stepped back and made, like with me, it was the lifestyle I was living when before I first became like a quote unquote Christian. I mean, I always believed, you know, you see the stories of Moses and Jesus from the time you're a kid on TV, you know, people say their names, you know, God above. These were his servants. Sent Moses and Jesus and the other prophets that you know about in Western society and stuff. Then later, when I had Muslim friends, I never made no difference or discounted or had any qualms that, you know, Muhammad was a prophet. Until after 9/11, people started filling my head and all this and everything. I was like, was he a prophet? Started reading the Quran, and it's like, yes, he is. He is a prophet. You know, now, and I looked at other texts and everything like that. I've read some Buddha. You can't tell me the teachings of Buddhism are any different than the teachings the apostles taught about people keeping themselves cleansed from this world and how to find some balance and peace in their lives and abstaining from the things and the lusts of this life. Read some Buddha. A lot of the same, every religion, a lot of the same meat and potato stuff is there. So you should never persecute anybody or think badly of people because of like the religion, the main, you know, like Islam. Yeah, you can think bad of terrorists, you know, Boko Haram going around kidnapping Christian girls and stuff and all those types of things, or what Al Qaeda does and people suicide bombs. And you can look at Christianity too, you know. The teachings of Jesus, you know, are separate from what things people have done in his name. Just like the teachings of Muhammad are separate than what people have done in his name and in the name of Islam. You understand? You see what I'm saying? Each individual person, you got to look at their character and, you know, their belief system, if it shows through that there is somehow skewed to make them racist or to make them I don't know what would, instead of racism based on color, what would be like religious racism? Is that bigotry? You know, that only their religion counts, that God's through with everybody else of every other thing except for them. That type of thing. You gotta look at people's mindsets individually. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm Christian and only Christians going to heaven," or you got Christians, only Christians and Jews going to heaven. You know, and you got Muslims saying only Muslims going to heaven. Then there's Muslims who, when you read the Quran, it says Christians and Jews who've done good works have nothing to fear of their Maker. And other people, other religions are listed. You know, so you got to understand, people, scholars, and your own thoughts. You're not God. He is the final judge, and for anybody to say, and it even says in the gospel, don't say who can go to heaven and who can't. And there's you can have a lot of interpretations in that, but to me, that's like, you can't say no people from this group are going, no people from that group are going. The apostles and Jesus didn't say, hey, guess what, from here on out, persecute the Jews and attack the Jews, and during Spanish Inquisition, they take their children from them and all that. They torture them to make them convert. Things. Ain't none of that in the Gospels, but it happened. Ain't none of that in the Gospels. They never said do that. Same with Islam. The Prophet Muhammad never said do things people have done in the name of Islam. So you got to cut the Jews some slack. They've endured centuries worth of persecution and everything, when there ain't a bit of scripture that says it's open season on them. There is, whatever you read, you will not find anything that says, well, it's open season on the Jews because they don't accept Jesus as Messiah. You're not their judge. God is their judge. God is all our judges. So, when you can prove to me he gave you the keys to heaven and said only you can decide who goes in, then I'll believe you. Until then, you can't say these people or those people can't go to heaven. So, anyhow, I wanted to throw that in there. What's your mindset? What's forming your mindset? You got to be careful who you let. It's like we got a saying out here. When you see one truck that's following too close to another, we got a saying. You're letting the guy in front of you is driving your truck. You're too close. He's driving your truck, and we're not trying to say like, well, you're that's just a way of saying you're really super close, and it's saying because whatever he does, his actions are going to affect you. You're letting that guy drive your truck. You're following too close. If something happens, there's nothing you can do. You're going to either eat it into the back of him, or you're going to go off the road, or you're going to swerve and hit somebody else or something. He's got your life in your hands. You can't see what's in front of him. So you can look at that the same way in your life. Who's driving your life? Who's in the driver's seat of your life? Is it somebody telling you to go out, and that's okay to go out and loot and kill because there was a tragedy? Are they going to take responsibility for your actions? You're the only one that's going to live with the consequences. You're the only one that's going to have to deal with your conscience. They're telling you, yeah, you're angry. You can go out there. These cops deserve it. And then you go out, and like that officer in St. Louis, he might have never done a damn bad thing to anybody his whole entire life. I'm talking about Officer Dorn in St. Louis. He might have never, ever done anything bad to anybody. He could have been the nicest guy you ever met in your life, willing to sacrifice his life for anybody. Man in his 70s. And he's murdered because he's a police officer. Now, is anybody going to step up and take responsibility for his murderers? You going to step into their shoes and say, yeah, we drove him to it? There's no need for violence. No need for violence. No matter what your beliefs are, there's no need for violence and the killing people. Whether it's based on religion or your race or your ideology. You can't go out and kill innocent people. That's madness. It's absolute madness. And no one's gonna have to deal with it except for you. I wish you all the best out there. Be safe. God bless.